we try to build the camaraderie and the family, and that they're there for each other, and you have to have fun. It's you work way too hard to not have fun, and fun doesn't always mean winning. Of course, it is fun winning, but even if you don't win, you have to learn from it and grow, but you have to enjoy that process.
And welcome to a Cobra Wrestling podcast called Stalling. I'm your host, Bram Parsons. With me, as always, co-host Dan Tria, and a podcast we've wanted to do for a long time. I've been really slack on making it happen. So, Dan, I said, hey, you go get guys and we'll talk. And this was the first one you went for.
Yep. We got the big fish.
The biggest. When you coach and you're known by a nickname, I think that's when you've reached your mark. Of course, I'm known by a nickname. Every kid calls me Cabra when I'm at wrestling tournaments. But we have Andrew Goog. I want to say I've never actually said your last name, Gugliemini. Is that right?
Pretty good. That's pretty good. Yes, sir.
Thank you for being on. Legendary coach, entering year 30 of coaching, 723 career dual wins, 8 state qualifier, or 4 state placers, 8 state champs. Is that what the number? Or what did I wrote these down wrong? But
that was last year. I had eight
last year, 4 state placers last year,
4 podium guys. Yeah, last year.
And entering and still young, entering year 30.
Well, it's 30 at Manatee. A lot of people don't know I had 3 years at Sarasota Riverview High School right out of college. Manatee wouldn't hire me. You have no experience. I'm like, okay. So I went down to Sarasota Riverview, and 3 years in a row we beat Manatee, and then the job came open again, and bam, I was back home. So
that's the way to get it.
Yeah, and I learned so much that those 3 years because I was right down there with Ron Jones, and Ron Jones was amazing. Miss you, Ron. But he was very instrumental in helping me, get some of those early coaching things that you got to learn. And I did it down there at Sarasota Riverview rather than here at Manatee.
I always love talking about process and things that happen. And how was it that you came to coaching? Was this something you always envisioned? What was your journey to Sarasota Riverview and then Manatee? But where did the coaching bug come from?
Well, I had a couple of really good coaches that were very instrumental in my life, and I think that was probably what made me decide to go that route. Mike Kelly, who was a wrestling coach here at Manatee and a JV coach for 20, 25 years, and then Phil Upton here at Manatee was my coach. They really were such a good role models for me. So I hung around, and my very first year, I didn't go away to college to wrestle. I stayed at MCC, Manatee Community College, and I was helping out as an assistant. And lo and behold, Coach Upton gets thrown out at the state tournament. So as a first-year assistant, I'm in the state finals in the corner, and Terry Chow wins the state title. Now, if that doesn't fire you up and you go, man, I love this, I think I'm going to do this. And that's kind of how I said, all right, let's go wrestle. So I went and wrestled for a little bit at Pembroke State University in North Carolina. Spent a year there and got that out of my system, proved that I could compete at that level. And then I came home, did some deals at home, and ended up finishing at USF. It took me 7 years to get my 4-year degree because I had a lot of fun in college. And,
you too, huh?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, that's just what better place, environment. You really have a part-time job, possibly. You take some classes, and there's a lot of fun people that like to do fun things in college. So I had a lot of fun there and a lot of distractions. So it took me a little longer to get my degree, but I got it. And as they say, the rest is history. I knew then that, I wanted to be a PE major and I said, man, they're going to let me coach and play games and they're going to pay me for it. And then I get to coach wrestling. So that was kind of the thinking, one kind of go hand in hand. So I said, all right, let's get my PE degree, which I wasn't the best student, obviously. Some things I'm a little better at than others, but C's get degrees. I had a 2.51. I graduated from the College of Education at USF, go Bulls, and came back. And that's what led me. I was sitting in the boiler room all dejected because Manatee went a different route and hired somebody else. And I heard the Sarasota Riverview job was open, and I went down there, interviewed with the legendary Coach Sprague, and boom, hired me on the spot. 3 years there, had a state qualifier every year. So that was a blessing. I got to experience that and going to the state tournament and figuring all that out. And 3 years later, the job opened up in Manatee, and here we are 30 years later. Next year will be my 30th year at Manatee as a head wrestling coach. Crazy. I would have never thought this would have been possible, but I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
My favorite line, Tommy Boy, is a lot of people go to college for 7 years because I did the same route. I actually went to USF first, went back to Miami, my hometown, and worked worked through community college, ended up at UCF. So now we're actually rivals. But I kind of branching off on that, I feel like that was the best thing that happened to me, because if I had just gone 4 years, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, because in those 7 years, I learned so much about myself, what I wanted to do. I got the experience to be out in the real world, and going to school at night and working all day in retail and those kind of things. And sometimes the scenic route gets us to a better place.
Yeah. You learn about a lot, like you said, about yourself and what drives you and what motivates you and what makes you do the things you do to get somewhere. And luckily I had a great backing from my mom, who's my hero. And my mom sacrificed a lot to try to get me through school. And we did it. I come from a very humble background. We didn't have a whole lot. So everything and anything I do is like a bonus to me. It's like, who the heck ever thought, me growing up, we're on welfare and on food stamps and all that, barely making it. And I never thought that go 57, I'm 30 plus years in as coaching, and all the things that we've accomplished. And I own a house and I have a beautiful wife, and I'm just blessed. I mean, how this all went about, I'm a lucky and blessed human.
Well, I got to say, Coach, I love hearing that perspective. And I got to add, thanks. I want to thank both you guys, because it only took me 6 years to get my 4-year degree.
The brainiac needs to show off.
But who had more fun? Who had more fun?
I want to say I finished in Boston, so I might have you. Yeah, so I might have. And by the way, yeah. Well, I finished when the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004.
Yeah.
Listen, we got to go there real quick. I am a Celtic fan, so I somehow Larry Bird got me hooked to be a Celtic fan. So I am a lifelong only basketball team I've ever rooted for, and I know you're a Celtic fan. I grew up a Ranger, but now I'm a Bolt. I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning through and through now. So and I grew up a Met fan, but now I'm a Rays fan. So everything switched except my Steelers. I'm still I root for the Bucks, but I'm a diehard Steeler.
And I have that in common with you guys, because I root for anybody who's playing any team from Boston.
Yes,
any team.
I do too, except for the Celtics. I can't stand the Red Sox. I can't stand their fans, the Bruins. I really can't. And
the same ones cheering for the Red Sox,
exactly.
though. They're all the same people.
That bothers me. I need therapy over this.
Well, look, I mean, Brant, I can't. I tell you every time, it's okay to root for Boston teams. I mean, I'm sorry that we invented democracy in Boston. I'm sorry that we started the revolution. I'm sorry that everything great about America started in Boston.
So you attribute so much to your mom. How much of her raising you is reflected in how you coach and how you try and mold these young student athletes? And can you hear her voice sometimes in your coaching?
All the time. My toughness. And then that's probably, if you have to list three things about Coach Goog, I think one of the top three is going to be toughness. And there's no doubt I got that from my mom. she was extremely tough mentally and physically, and just if you, and that's where kind of our little acronym GATA came from, and she was the epitome of that. If you want something in this world, go get it. But you can't wait for somebody to give you anything. If you want it, go get it, make it happen. And so the toughness that she instilled in me, the never to quit. She wouldn't allow us. I 7 kids in my family, 6 siblings, so 7 of us, and moms, wouldn't let us quit nothing. If you started it, you finished it. That whole adage of, if you don't want to try, come back next year, that's fine. But if you signed up, you're going to finish what you started. So the toughness, and I hear her all the time. We talk all the time. She's been gone a long time. I was 21 when she passed. She had a heart attack at age 54. So I lost my mom very early. All these people that still have their moms around, and I tell them all the time, do something, go give her a hug, bring her some flowers, do something, because I wish I could do that, but she's probably the single most important reason why I am who I am and where I'm at today, because she wouldn't allow me to not accomplish things that I set my mind out to do. So that's a big part.
And let me ask you a question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, with coming from that toughness lesson from your mom, how do you translate the idea of tough love, to your wrestlers?
Well, they've got to know that you care, but they also have to understand that me caring for them is not always giving in or giving them what they want. I'm going to tell them the way it needs to be. And sometimes that's hard to take, right? It's hard to take some of the things you have to tell our athletes today, student athletes, and they don't like it, but it's the way it is. You have to be tough on them. I know, with very few exceptions, my wrestlers, after they graduate and go on and become this and do that, they come back and they show the love, and they show their support of the program that helped mold them as well. But you have to be hard on them. We do, and at least I am, and they know that they're going to hear it the way it is. I'm not going to change the old school philosophy and the hard work and dedication and loyalty, kind of what the Mafia stands for. I know everybody, how do you get away with being the Manatee Mafia? Well, the Mafia, it's the good stuff on the Mafia, right? The brotherhood, the loyalty, the dedication, the hard work. Okay, we're not out stealing hubcaps and busting kneecaps. It's the hard work and all of that part of the Mafia, and the brotherhood and the family. That's what we talk about, and we just instill it in them. And then you can't back down, right? You have to be hard on them, and most of them get it, and they don't like it, some of them, while it's happening. But I guarantee 98% of them, they come back and they appreciate all that, because it helps mold them, just like Coach Upton and Coach Kelly did for me.
Along those lines of coaching for 30 years, what has changed with your approach to coaching, and maybe what have you learned about yourself that you've made? I'm sure you've changed a lot, but what are the main things that you've noticed that you've changed in coaching, and how it's evolved?
Those first 10 years probably of the 33 probably were win, 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 do boom, boom, outcome based, win, loss, this, that. And you learn, like everybody says, you get a little wiser with age, and you figure some things out. There's way more to it than the W's and the L's, and the relationships that you build, and the things that you learn from our sport that you apply to life, and hopefully you win at life. That should be, I mean, how many people actually are dummies like me that say, hey, I'm going to wrestle forever, right? I mean, most people, you get high school, some go to college, not many to wrestle. But after that, you kind of move on with your life, and you're involved in your family and your career and whatever it is. Very few percentage of people say, hey, I'm going to do this forever, right? So, I mean, does that make sense? That,
Oh, yeah.
You just have to that's what I chose to do, but not everybody does that.
Yeah, and kind of what you said in there is that the principles of wrestling, they're principles of life. And you know, it's funny that, you know, you talk about that first part of your career being about the results, and now it's more about process. But what I'm curious about is like what's something, and you may not necessarily need to provide a specific example, but what's something that where you look at where you are today versus where you were when you started, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm doing this today when years ago I did that.
Um, I think the biggest thing is trying to get the relationships with parents. That is a huge thing that I'm trying to be better at now. If that's kind of what you're asking, what things have changed, and I really think that's important. You have to have a relationship with the parents of the kids. There's some kids that I don't see their parents, and I wish I did more. But back in the day, maybe I wouldn't even reach out or make a phone call or try to discuss things with them. Whereas now I think I try to do that a little better. I'm not the best on communication sometimes, and I hear that from parents, and then I ask them, well, how about helping me? How about, what can you pitch in here and coordinate this a little bit? So I think that's a big part of what I'm trying to change and do a little different. As far as Manatee wrestling, as far as on the mat, we've had some very good technicians come through our program that have helped. I'm not the biggest technician. I know probably every move and can walk you through it. Might not be able with this old back and body. I might not be able to do some of the techniques, but I know it up here. I've seen it. I've studied it. I've listened to other people teach it. But we've had some of the people that come in and teach it. David Mason was amazing. He's I'm his biggest fan, except when we wrestle him. But I'm David Mason and Jesuits. I'm a fan. I love them. He helped us with our technique more than anybody through that middle part of my career. But we're known for that we're tough and we're in shape and we're going to go hard and it's some people call it like the caveman style wrestling, right? We're very basic and we're very but we're going to bring it. You know that you're going to have to pack your lunch if you're going to wrestle a Manatee guy and you're going to need to go 6 minutes hopefully or less. So that's kind of where we're at. That's still the same. That's still our baseline. We're going to wrestle hard. We're going to work out hard. We're going to train hard. We're going to be in shape and we're going to bring it. The technique part, we love sending our guys. I'm not one of those that says, no, don't go to here. Don't go there. We love sending guys to BB. Connor's amazing. The stuff he teaches there, I love it. It's a lot like what we teach here. So that's great. But we tell them, get out of this little pond here at Manatee High and go some other places. You have to learn. And then they learn, the kids, and they bring it back. And then we all benefit from it.
You touched upon something when you were going through, your career to here. And we also, when we were talking sports already, you like sports, it's games. You get to teach games to kids. It's serious and you work hard, but it's fun. I mean, and some coaches are better at maybe managing than others. You guys you work hard, but your guys have fun. When you guys show up at state, you've got blue and red paint. They're working hard, and I don't want to don't mistake this for them being not taking it serious, but it's also fun to get to play a game and to get to compete and get to do it with your friends and your teammates and all that. How important is it? How hard is it maybe or how did that develop to where you make sure we're going to try and keep this as fun as we can? We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to work you hard, but this is fun and you want them to have fun while they're doing it. And that probably helps make them come back. No
doubt. You have to make it enjoyable. It has to be. That's one of especially for the littles in the kids club and stuff, we tell them that number one rule, it's got to be fun. we're not worried about L's and W's. It's got to be fun. Now, when we get up to the high school, obviously a little more pressure, a little more. So we got to keep them loose, right? So that's when that's where some of the things that we do at Manatee, we try to keep our guys loose and take the pressure off. One year at the state tournament, David Mason and I walked out we walked right across all the mats. It was Friday night in the state semifinals, and we had 5 guys in the state semis, and he and I walked across the mats in a Batman and Robin outfit. Okay? I mean, full dress, like boom, mask, everything, boom. He had the abs. I mean, I'm Batman, and Robin over here, he doesn't need the abs, and he's got his little costume had abs. I'm like, this ain't right. But it's here. We walked out, we took it off, and we said, let's go. They played the national anthem, and boom, our guys were ready. And I think we won 3 of the 5 that year. But you got to keep them loose. The hair, that's all tradition. And tradition is a huge part of what we do as well. So you look forward to those things, and you look forward to try to accomplish the things that get you to the state tournament, to get you to region week after districts. And I mean, most programs, just getting out of districts, some or that's difficult, but we have a little higher goals at our end. But to get to region week, you get to go on the region run. We do a region run where we drop them off and they have to run back to Manatee High, and it's 4 or 5 mile run. Not that big a deal, but it's something that they look forward to. The tradition. But yeah, we do a lot of fun stuff. We when we travel, we have a blast. We played paintball this year up in Jacksonville. We went out and played for 4 hours and played paintball, and it was a blast. We've done that before, so I knew it would work. But we try to build the camaraderie and the family, and that they're there for each other, and you have to have fun. It's you work way too hard to not have fun. And fun doesn't always mean winning. Of course, it is fun winning, but even if you don't win, you have to learn from it and grow, but you have to enjoy that process.
And so speaking of that, from someone who's competed against you, not done fairly well,
Sure.
when I was at Lely with Mark Monica, and then obviously with my own team, one of the things we noticed about you guys is, yes, you had fun, and yeah, you guys were just in shape like you said. And I remember telling my kids, these guys are just going to be tough. You just got to understand. You got to go out there and you got to wrestle tough. I said, and that's how you have a shot against them. But touching upon your trip, because I saw the pictures and all that stuff, and it looked really cool. How does that, in your opinion, how does that camaraderie that you guys build on going things on like those trips, how does that translate into the room as far as building the toughness and furthering the culture?
I think that's where the kids have to be held accountable, right? So they need each other to help hold them accountable. When they're not at practice, or they don't come to a workout, or you're hurting the team. So that's when I think that if they know each other a little better, and they feel comfortable around each other a little better, a little more, they might be more apt to say something or to help each other make sure you're there for workouts, and to get better and to push each other. And we sometimes tell them to have an accountability buddy, where somebody texts them or calls them and said, hey, did you run this morning or last night, or did you eat the right way, or did you this, or do you need help, or do you want to do this together, or whatever. But it's just, you have to rely on each other, right? There's not some people think that it's not a team sport. They have a team score. It's a team sport. Yes, there's 14 individual matches included in this dual meet, but it's a team sport. At least at Manatee, it's huge, and we really rely on that and count on that as part of what we do. We tell them all the time. We say, what can you do to make yourself better, to be the best you can be, to help the team. Right. So sometimes when you take it off of them and you give them a bigger reason to work so hard and to do the extra and to get out of bed and to come, we went 9 days. We went on 3 different trips this summer, and not all of them went on each trip. So it was spread out. But to be able to do that, you need a little help, right? You need a little friend saying, come on, let's go, we're gonna have fun. And so those types of things, I think it helps get through some of the hard work and hard and strenuous stuff that we do.
I want to kind of piggyback off that to talk about the team coming up this year. You guys have been affected, I think, one of the most by reclassification. You're in your 3rd different district in the last 5 years. You keep finding new teams, new classifications. But
by the way, Brant, they're always in a region of doom. They're either in 3A2 with all the killers or 2A3 with all the killers.
Yeah, you can't even make your way through there lightly.
It's a shame the Jesuit went up to the region 2. It's a shame. That's an absolute shame. That's 10, 12 spots. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That is 10 or 12 bodies that now would have been out of our region that are now available for somebody to go.
And a lot of those spots on top of the podium available now too.
Man, no doubt. I'm a huge fan. Go ahead.
Going into this year, and just that you've had a chance to be around these guys, I know you're excited for what's coming up. Just talk about what you've been doing to get ready and what you're most excited for this season.
Well, the reclassification was definitely in our favor. I don't know how many years we've done the state duels, but Manatee has never, because in that last match on that Thursday of regions, we've always ran into a booger bear, right? We're always somebody that 5 of the last 6 years, my numbers might be close. 5 of the last 6 years, the team we lost to took either 1st or 2nd in the state duels. So it's not like we're losing to just some chump. We're losing to one of the best teams. And so we've never been able to get past that hump, as we call it. Well, this year, there's no Jesuit, there's no Palm Harbor, there's no, we've got to step up. However, we graduated 10 guys. We had a transfer, and I know we'll get into this, but we lost a young man who was tragically shot and killed at a high school party. So after losing all of these pieces, it's like, oh man, now they give us this realignment and we're not going to have our stud team. Like if we would have had this alignment last year, we would have rolled through the district and region and gone to state and probably done well. But I graduated all those guys. I'm going to have 4 or 5 guys on my varsity team this year that have wrestled JV for 2 or 3 years. They're off like 4 seniors now that everybody will go, who are these guys? Well, they've been on JV. They couldn't bust the lineup last year. So they've paid their dues. They've worked hard. They know how to wrestle. They might not be a state place winner, but there's several of them that are going to, they know how to wrestle. They're going to make a run at a state berth. So, and then I've got a couple freshmen coming in that are very exciting. Porter Daniels is a name that everybody's going to learn, and some people might know, some people not. But he's wrestled with our high school group and gone on the trips for the last 3 or 4 summers. He was beating high school kids when he was in 5th grade and 6th grade. He's just a tough kid, and he'll be in our lineup somewhere. We got a move in from Illinois who seems to know what he's doing. We're going to find out. He's a freshman. So we'll see if he pans out. And we just got a bunch of kids that are now it's their turn. And that's, our JV program over the last few years has been very, very solid, very strong. We, Coach Ryan Fair, who wrestled for me, graduated in 98, came back 2 or 3 years ago. He was my JV coach for probably 10 or 15 years. And he does a tremendous job with the JV guys. We beat Charlotte last year, and Coach Evan Robinson said, I don't know, our JV's been beat that bad in a long time. So that was a nice compliment from him. So our guys, our JV guys they're tough. They'll move up, and hopefully they'll be up for the next level now. We've got a few guys I think that can compete at the state level. We'll see. That's my job now. I've got to get them to that next level, right? We've got a kid that didn't qualify last year that probably should have, but his name's Brody Hall. He's a tough kid, a hard worker. He's the head of the JROTC here at Manatee High. He's the supreme battalion commander. You know, he works hard there, and he works hard on the wrestling mats. Of course, we got a kid that took advantage of a great draw last year and made it to the state finals and lost to Maximus Brady and in the state finals, which is not anything bad there, but a great wrestler. So we competed with him, and Luke Arthur is back, ready to try to make that next step this year.
No, go ahead, Brant.
All right. You talked about it, so I guess this is the time to fit it in. Just a horrible tragedy happened less than I think a week after state tournament this year, and there was a junior, Jann Michael Feeney. He was a part-time varsity wrestler. I know he had gone to New Jersey with you guys and had contributed and was part of that trip, and you had some special moments there. He was hanging out in the backyard with friends and shot in the stomach and killed. I don't even know where to begin on what to ask on this. I obviously I want to ask you things from the coaching standpoint and how you even try to. You have to manage so many things. You have to manage your own feelings and emotions and loss, and you have countless kids on your team that are still kids, as much as they might be mature and above their age, and you have to manage them through this. And he was their friend, and you have families that you have to go through, and you're kind of thrust into that role. It's easy to be a coach and tell guys to do drills. This is the really hard stuff, and you can't prepare for it. Just what was that through for you going through that, and how did you try to compose yourself to take on so many different roles in that?
JM was what he went by. It stood for Jann Michael, I believe. Jay, and I called him Jam. I thought for first couple of years they were saying Jam, so I started calling him Jam, and it's JM. And I'm like, half the time these kids are scared to tell me what their real name is. So it's like, come on, man. I'm not that bad, really. I've never killed a kid in 33 years. But they're scared to talk to me sometimes. And so I just started calling him Jam. Jam was a gift. He was an amazing kid. He had like a 14-2 or 14-4 record on varsity this year whenever I was able to fit him in and bump some kids up or move the lineup around. He went to New Jersey. He made the finals. He was behind two state place winners this year. He was behind Jake Samuels, who took 6th, and Jason Carbajal, who took 8th. So he was trying to find his spot, but he was very content with just saying, all right, next year is my year. So he was going to be one of the guys that just pops in. He won 2 what we call JV state titles. So he was very, very well liked on and off the wrestling mat. But when something like this happens, it's tough. Like you said, these kids trying to keep and getting them to process and understand what's going on. I mean, we don't understand what's going on. How do we expect 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to understand? So we had a tough time, of course, with it. We asked them to seek counseling, and they had counselors here, but they need to change the word. They call it crisis counselors. And a couple of the kids goes, well, I'm not in a crisis. It's not. Well, so then they think that they don't need to speak to somebody. Mm-hmm. Like everybody needs to speak to somebody when you're in a deal like this, right? Whether it be a friend, a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a parent, you need to speak to someone. as did I, right? I needed to find some help and have people to talk to. This is like the third or fourth wrestler or kid that has passed away since I've been at Manatee, and it's never easy. And then when you have to get up and speak at his funeral and do a eulogy, oh my Lord, I prayed so hard to give me the strength, Lord, to get through this, right? To help me say some right words to comfort the team and the family and the community. So we went through all that, right? But it was a senseless. Here's the bottom line. Have you ever told your kids what to do if they're at a party and someone pulls a gun out? Whether it's, hey, look at this gun, or there's some beef or something, or whatever the situation is. Have you ever told them what to do if that happens? Probably not, right? Probably haven't had that specific of a talk. Well, now I think it's something that everybody needs to have, that talk, because maybe this could have been prevented, right? Maybe this is what happened. Maybe he did. JM said, put that thing away. Don't point it at me. And the kid says it's not loaded. And the kid points the gun at JM, pulls the trigger, and it was loaded, and shot him in the heart, and he passed away. But so we don't know if it was intentional, wasn't intentional, is this, is that, and that's kind of doesn't matter, because we lost an amazing young man who was loved by so many people. His smile was amazing. He's just an amazing kid, and now we won't have that. But we try to deal with it, and we're going to honor him in some way of putting his. They came up with a hashtag LLJM, long live JM, right? So we're going to probably put that on our headgear this year, and we got to think of some other ways to honor him. But I think the best way of honoring him is for me, because I'm through with all the. I'm sad, and of course I'm still sad, but now I'm at the angry point, right? Mm-hmm. What can I do now to turn this into something positive, if that's even possible? And saying it even is like a little hurts me to just say, oh, turn it into a positive. There's nothing positive. We lost a young man. But if we can stop this from happening again somewhere else and save other kids, then how can we do it? Somebody's got to speak up when that situation happens. Somebody knew that kid had that gun. Somebody knew he pulled it out, and he needed to be told, put that away. And it didn't happen. And then now we're dealing with what we're dealing with.
From your point of leadership, where, I mean, we don't know the answers. I don't think anyone knows the answers, but what are you trying to come up with and saying? And I know that you're going to have this talk, and you've had this talk with kids. You say it's amazing that we have to have this talk, but from your point now, what is it that you are saying to them, and how do we talk to them about this?
Well, you've had to talk. If somebody's drinking, don't get in the car with them, right? That's a very common one, right? So how do we get in their mind? And I think this is part of it. Some people, the whole I don't want to snitch on somebody, or I don't want to get them in trouble. The gun's no joke. There's no push the button, replay, restart the game. If somebody gets shot and killed, they're gone. So I think the kids need to understand that it's their responsibility to speak up if they know somebody's got something that they shouldn't, right? We talk about it at school all the time. If you see something, say something. But it's hard for the kids to rat them out or snitch on them or whatever. And it should be an easy thing to do. You should find an adult, find somebody, tell them that this is going on, and how do you, hopefully it gets taken care of before someone gets shot and killed. But I don't know what the things are to say, but I'm going to come up with something, and I am willing to go speak to churches, go speak to groups, go speak to middle school, elementary, high school, whatever. But we've got to come up with something. I'm not going to get into the gun, this, that. It's, it's this fault, that fault. How about there shouldn't be, a 17-year-old shouldn't have a gun anyway. Right. So we need to get that out into everyone's mind that it's not okay. And that if somebody's doing that, they need to be, it needs to stop and they need to get rid of it. And so I guess that's what we need. The next thing is we got to come up with what are we going to say or how are we going to say it? So I need some people a little smarter than me to come up with those thoughts and ideas and statements and how to discuss it to help better the world.
Well, Coach, as you're telling as you're talking this through, one of the things I've always respected about you is how just forthright, honest, and authentic you are, and I'm sure that resonates with your team as you take them, as you're one of the people kind of helping them through this tragedy. And of course, our heart goes out to you and everything and all that goes with it. But what I'm struck by is one of the things I love about wrestling is that it gives you kind of an inner strength where you don't need to walk around with something like a gun to feel strong. And I'm not like you, I'm not going to get into all the issues and everything like that. There are several ways we have all these drills in school, code reds, all this stuff. But like you said, there's, my mind is trying to come up with something, because this is what we do. We try to solve these problems.
Right.
But let me ask it this way. If, what do you think is something that from our perspective as a culture that we can do where we make kids, because like you said, this was a 17-year-old kid. What can we do for kids that might make them feel less, I'm trying to find my words, I apologize. Less
needy of having a gun.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know, other than just maybe talking about it. Even like I said, who's had that conversation with their children or their team, or that, hey, if you're at a party and somebody pulls a gun out, what do you do, right? So so maybe even just talking about it and making people aware might help if the situation arises again. So I don't know, but that's it's definitely something that's needs to be spoke about and needs to be discussed. There's a lot of there's so many evils out there in these kids and everything online and all the stuff they see and everything. So I feel like the teenager today has seen and heard way more than what we did when we were back, in that age. I mean, the internet and their phone and all that, they see so much, right? So they're aware, but what do we do to get them to the next step to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen, I guess.
And along those lines, because this is what I was going to bring up is, and as a parent of 5 and someone who grew up around the same time as you, and my kids, they're lucky to be in a stable environment, and I have, my wife and I and my parents are able to help, and the community around us. Not everyone has that. But it feels to me that kids just have to grow up too fast now too. And they have to carry more responsibility. They have to be more responsible, more adult. And maybe that feeds into doing things that they think adults do and whatnot. And I'm sure you see this as a coach. When I was young and naive and stupid at 16 and 17, I was probably getting into similar kind of trouble spots. But you didn't have that fear because you didn't have to be grown up then. And it just feels now that they just have to do it at a level that's unfair to them. And they don't get a chance to just be a kid because they've got to be worried about so many different things that could hurt them. You kind of, have you seen that too? Or do you feel that?
Oh, without a doubt. And sometimes you do have to remind them, be a kid as long as you can.
Yeah.
And and I use that line a lot when the kid comes up and he's a sophomore and he's got a lot of potential, but he's got girls that he wants to hang out with. Now he's got his license, he needs a job, and I'm like, man, slow down. Be a kid as long as you can. You can never go back and do this kind of stuff, right? This wrestling, like we talked about earlier. Very small percentage. What is it? 1% of high school wrestlers go to wrestle in college. So this is the last time for most of them that they're going to get to do stuff like this. So I tell them all the time, be a kid. We work hard in May and June, and July hits, and depending on where we're at, our schedule, July is pretty much wide open. I tell them, go be kids, throw rocks, skip shells go to the beach and chase, some girls and have friends and relationships. And obviously, I opened the room. We closed it down for 2-3 weeks, but it's back open again now. We're going 2 days a week where it's open, but it's not mandatory. It's only if the kids that want to come and get on the mat and get an hour and a half workout in on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. But it's not mandatory. July, go be a kid. Go do something fun. Go ride your bike. Whatever they do these days. But yes, we go out of our way to tell them that though. It's okay if you don't come to wrestling here for a couple of weeks. Go do something different. I got a couple of them going and trying out some MMA. Right? Go do that. Go. Couple of them trying to learn how to play golf, which is impossible, but they're going to play golf, right? Do something different. Actually talk to your parents, right? Have a conversation. Oh man, you live in the same house and you don't speak or converse. How about spending time with your siblings? How about you got somebody older than you that maybe needs a little company? Go spend some time with grandma or grandpa or uncles. Go do that. We tell them. Last night was blessed. I had Tuesday night, I think we had 16, 18 kids in the room last night. And it's completely, again, voluntary. They don't have to come, but they're showing up. But that's, I think it's important that you have to tell them and remind them of this, try not to grow up so quick, slow down, be a kid. It's okay to make, fun of yourself and do some goofy things and enjoy yourself. Stop being so serious and trying to grow up at 15 and 16.
Something that you said in there, it really hit me about being a kid and staying a kid for a long time.
I'm still a kid.
Dan's well in the kid range.
Oh my God.
Good job.
Yeah. So anyway, well, let me ask you guys, because you're both older and more wiser than me.
Yeah. Well, obvious.
Much older. I mean, they say wisdom comes with age, but Brant, I've seen your sports takes. So, what I was going to say is with being a kid, one of the things that I think is what I try to do with my kids, because they're very academically driven, so that tends to get them in silos. And we talked about this earlier, but the power of connectedness and the way you spoke about JM. It really touched me because it just, as coaches, we have special connections to our kids. So can you speak to the value of being connected, not just to your teammates, but to your community, your family and whatnot? Because even though we have these phones and these phones make us more connected, we just feel more disconnected. That's just my observation.
I think it's probably one of my favorite parts of coaching. And while you're at it and when you're in it, it's nice. But like I said earlier, a lot of my wrestlers, a good portion of them, and I tell them all the time, it's not my job to be your friend right now. And so we push them and sometimes they're a little grumpy and they're not as happy with me as maybe some other coaches, but when they come back, like I talked about earlier, is probably my favorite thing. Last night we had Bobby Latessa in the room. Bobby Latessa is a legend, right? I mean, this kid graduated from Harvard. He's a 2-time state champ, a 4-time placer. He was 16-2 at the state tournament in his 4 years, 2 thirds and 2 firsts. I mean, that's a small list. But for him to come back and throw the shoes on and get out there, and I just sit back and watch and let him teach a little. That's so wonderful and beautiful. We get kids all the time that come back in, and it's, now they're part, and it's an expected part of the Mafia, is that you contribute back to the program. We got a golf tournament coming up August 10th. If anybody out there would like to donate, or we don't have a lot of spots to play, but sponsorship and gift cards are always welcome. But the community, like you spoke about, and we found this out when JM passed. The community here in Bradenton and in Manatee is unbelievable. The amount of people that called and to see, are you okay? Is the team okay? Can we do anything? It's amazing. And then when we have fundraisers like this golf tournament, and we'll raise $15,000 to $18,000, for one little day of amazing fun. And you really we're blessed the way the community and the families and everybody give back. But when they come back in the room and teach, and they take their personal time and get on the mat and show what they learned when they were at Manatee and or somewhere else, and contribute back to the kids in the program, that's probably one of my favorite parts of being a coach. That relationship, because that they get it, they understood it, they wrestled there. Now they're coming back and giving back, and that's just it puts a big smile on my face and in my heart.
Coach, I feel like I don't want to speak for Dan. I could talk to you for hours, but I want to respect your time also. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that we should have, or anything you would liked us to have asked you about?
This past year, the team that graduated, we did something that this is the biggest group that's ever gone on to compete at the next level. We graduated 10. We've got 6 of those young men that are going to wrestle or play football at the next level next year. That's a lot.
That's awesome, Coach. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we've always had a couple here and there, but we've got Carter Cabrera going to the University of the Cumberlands. We got Julian Smith's going to Lincoln Memorial. We got 2 brothers, Jake and Anthony Samuels. Anthony graduated a couple years ago, but Jake signed and is going to wrestle at Sacred Heart. Well, while Jake was going through this, he went on the trip with him, and man, they didn't have a 25-pounder last year. So Anthony goes, hey, maybe I'll come up there. So Anthony signed also with them. So 2 brothers going to Sacred Heart. I'm pretty sure that's D1, right? Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've got DeMontez McDowell twice. He was 6th in the state this year with a blown knee, and nobody knew, but he couldn't even shoot, and he still figured out how to wrestle. And his shot was his biggest weapon. But this kid's going to go play linebacker at Stetson. Trayvon Pender is going to play football up in Atlanta. So we were really blessed with a great team, but more than a great team, they were competitors. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get this new group now, right? But I want to give props to all the kids that are doing great things, that sometimes don't get the accolades and the pat on the back. It's everybody. There's 14 weight classes. We need everybody, and we talk about that a lot here at Manatee. It's from the littlest guy to the biggest guy. But this year was very special to me. It really, I know I gave you a quote last year, talked about that group and said that it kind of ignited a little flame in me that again, that made it fun again, right? The group before that group was a little stressful, right? And we had a few prima donnas, and they all, it was me, not all of them, but a couple of them, and that gets old for me. I don't like that. I'd rather talk about Manatee than the individual. I'd like to talk about the team. So I felt like last year's team did a great job with that. And this year yet to be determined, but I think we don't know until we wrestle on the mat, but I'm hoping that, if we do what we're supposed to, and if I do my job as a coach, we'll have a shot to finally get to Kissimmee and see I won't have to pay to get in to the shows.
It's a lot of fun. I hope I see you there. Dan, is there anything that you had left to ask?
No, not off the top of my head. I just want to congratulate Coach on well, now that we know 33 years of just an incredible career. And like I said earlier, and I'm going to say again, one thing I respect about your program is you guys wrestle hard. And I've never seen a Manatee wrestler ever do anything that is unsportsmanlike, showing anyone up or anything like that. You guys conduct yourself with just incredible class, and it's always an honor to compete against you.
I appreciate you saying that, because that's something that we do talk about quite a bit. And me being an official as well as a coach, we talk about, and my kids are very educated with the rules and they understand. So they know that I'll kill them if they do something that they're not supposed to. And there's been a couple instances where kids, push the chair down or shove the door a little hard. I don't like that. And if you don't like the outcome of the match, do something about it in the practice room.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it out on that chair, that door. That didn't do anything. Do it. Work harder, right? So
yep.
Hey, I wanted to give a shout out to all my amazing coaches and all my amazing parents and the contributors in our area in our beautiful town of Bradenton. We couldn't do any of this without them. The NWCA Coaches Convention is coming up at the end of July, and I'm going to be there. And it's going to be amazing. There's 600 college and high school coaches that'll be there. On Thursday night, they're having a Scholastic Academy class. It's free to all Florida coaches. I'd like to give an invite out to any Florida coach. Doesn't have to be a head coach. Could be a part-time coach, a youth coach. But if you can get to Sawgrass TPC, what a beautiful place. On Thursday night, I think it's at July 25th, between 4 and 8. And Dan, can I invite you? Would you like to come and take part in this class? I have been asked to try to get 5 coaches to come. So let me put an invite out and see if you're willing to come up there. It's free. If you need more information, I'll be glad to get it to you. But they want coaches there, right? It's a free thing put on by the Marines is the sponsor, but the NWCA. It's a great thing. The conference is amazing. I mean, you're walking around and there's John Smith and there's Hale, and it's really, really cool. And you sit in classes with them, and a lot of stuff gets talked about, and you learn quite a bit at those things. So I'd like to throw that out. Any coaches that needs information, please hit me up, and I'll be glad to help you get signed up for that.
And if you have a link, send it to me. I'll include it in the show notes.
Gotcha.
Someone can do that. And I just want one thing I meant to say earlier. I want to tell you. So the first kid who ever came up to tell me he proved me wrong was Charles Small. He could not wait to tell me. I don't know if he was happy with me. He was a little nervous, but that was where it first started.
That's awesome. And I need to buy that shirt for him. But he that was a huge upset, right? That kid had beat us down pretty good, took us down 4 or 5 times in the dual meet. So we knew what was going to go on. And Coach Mason crafted a beautiful plan, right? And Charles executed. That kid was ranked number 9 in the nation, and we caught him in the semis after maybe a little bit of a weight cut. I don't know. But he tried to finish that single leg in that second period. It wore him out. Charles is exceptional at countering a single and his balance. And he had our leg up for probably a minute and tried to finish it 6 times and couldn't finish. And then Charles got a takedown at the end of that second period, and that changed that match. So that was a beautiful thing. Very proud of Charles and everything he continues to do in the sport of wrestling. Shout out Charles.
Yeah, the
absolutely.
One that started it all. Well, thanks, Coach, for your time. I will say that now maybe they don't all tell me stuff, but you're one of those coaches no one ever says a bad word about you. Everybody always is the way you carry yourself, and it's not easy to do because there are coaches that we'll find something wrong with someone, but I've never had anyone tell me a bad word about you. I respect your program. I love chatting with you, obviously on here or just in general. And I'm so glad that you were able to take some time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for both of you. Appreciate everything you're doing for our sport. You guys are amazing, and we'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Go Canes, go.
Thanks for tuning in to Stalling, a Florida high school podcast produced by Cabra Media. Stalling can be found on your favorite podcast platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartMedia, and more. Remember to follow, rate, and share if you like the podcast. Look for Cabra Wrestling on social media and give us a follow. Have an idea for a show? Contact us at cabrawrestling.com.
It ain't the 6 minutes. It's what happens in that 6 minutes.